It is August 10th. Got a bunch of really cool songs running through my head. That's one of them from earlier this week. That I really hadn't thought about trying to do an instrumental version of it till I turned the camera on. I thought, let's start playing that and see what happens. But looks like that's got some promise in it. I have a few things I want to tell you about. Some stuff that's gone on this week. It's still cooking here in California, but I'm sure it's worse in other parts of the world and other parts of the country. So I can't really complain. But I may have to cut it a little short today if I get any stickier. Well, big fires here in California. We have one that's gone over 300,000 acres, bigger than the city of Los Angeles, wiping out the Mendocino forests. Anyway, but I know there's a lot of things going on around the world that are out of our control. Let's see. I want to talk a little bit about some of the songs that we had this week and some news about. Let's do that first. One of the things we've had going on for the month of August so far, up only till today. So I think you have till about midnight tonight if you're interested in picking up any of the packages that were knocked 40% off all the packages. We're kind of in a whole reevaluating prices here, so that was part of it. And anyway, if you're interested in a package, you got a few more hours to grab them. As far as I know, who knows? Things might get extended. And let's see, what else is going on? A couple things. I have to listen back to Box of Rain. I really liked the video that Jimmy put up, and question about finger picking, and some great answers about finger picking. So I'm not really clear. I guess I'm gonna start with this. Not really clear what you were looking for at the beginning of the song on the recording that you can't hear what's happening in there. And that's a song I've thought about doing a lesson on in the past too. There are all kinds of great Grateful Dead songs. And so anyway, if you could, back on that post where you put it up with your daughter playing, which was really fun to watch again, by the way, get a little more specific about what you're not hearing in the beginning that you'd like to try to do. Maybe it's a little lead that's happening there or something. The question about finger picking, though, was I think some people came up with some good answers. Where I start somebody with finger picking is two things. House the Rising Sun, to get used to arpeggios. That's the first thing you got to be able to do smoothly before you worry about any kind of alternating bass finger picking thing. Then possibly Blackbird, except the problem with Blackbird is it's got some unorthodox things that are not normal finger picking, at least the way I like to teach it, which is using your thumb to always play the third string. But it's fairly a repetitive pattern that I have beginners play all the time. So those are two really good ones to have down. Then Brain Damage or the intro to Dust in the Wind is the next thing that gets into an alternating bass pattern. So there's a couple of songs to start with. The Fingerpicking 101 series is also a lot more structured, I guess, would be that's a word I don't use very well. I don't understand it very well, and I don't usually stick with it very well. But that's what I'd recommend there. So let's see, what else? Let's go through the rest of the songs. The stuff Max comes up with is always enjoyable. The Pure Imagination from this week, and what else did we have? It was so cool that Kevin brought this up. Because I think he hadn't learned it from me, and he didn't have this in there, the little vamp that happens there, but it makes it really nice. So that was, of course, Midnight Rider. And then we got into that Stevie Wonder song, which is one I couldn't quite place when he first mentioned. I could hear it in my head, but I couldn't hear what the accompaniment was. But as we listened to it, we saw, oh yeah, it's just two simple chords. Basically a 1 and a minor 5. Now, that could oh man, this could introduce us to the chord puzzles problem, because what mode would include those two chords, A and E minor, for example, or D and A minor? Good question, because there's a mode that happens in regularly. Okay, enough about that. What else? Oh, and then as our European friends are hanging out here, I had a chance to shoot a couple of videos with Karina, and I thought, the strategy behind them was songs I wanted to do lessons on. So this week we also got to For All We Know, which, and right in the beginning, as I started talking about the lesson, I said, we're not going to try an instrumental version of this because I had never thought about it yet. We just kind of keep that one sort of simple. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and maybe walk through what I would think about with this. And the first thing I do is I wouldn't worry about the intro. We got the intro, the little Jose Feliciano thing. First thing is finding what is the first melody note. Well, I know because when I hit that bass note, what I hear is the same note in the melody. So it's going to start on a G. Now, do we want to try that up an octave? If we start there, it starts on a really low note. So if I start on that high G, I'm digging myself into way up there. So let's see what happens if we start on the lower G. We're going to run into notes clashing with bass notes, I think. Okay, I might have to pursue that. It didn't come out as scary as I thought. Anyway, what else do I want to talk about? The chord puzzles. I think that's it for my list, for most of it. I want to elaborate a little bit on some of the ideas. Matter of fact, this song has a couple of them. If I'm playing a C sharp, an E, a G, and a B, and another E, C sharp, E, G, B. Well, those could be laid out as 4 notes. The first thing you try to do is arrange the notes by thirds. And when I first listed the first one, I think I listed G, C, A, D? No, G, C, A, E. So I had a G and a C and an A and an E. Now, that looks a little scary because G and C are a fourth apart. G and A are next to each other. A and E are a fifth apart. So the first thing you have to do is write out the notes and put them in thirds order if possible. And so if you look at that set of notes, let's see, we had a C and we had an E and we had a G. That's a C chord. Oh, but then we had an A. Now wait, A is not a third from G. It's only, that adds up to being a root, a third, a fifth, and a sixth. But a note that is a sixth, if you take it down an octave, is a third below your old root. A is a third below C. So now we could look at those notes as A, C, E, and G. And we have some kind of seventh chord with A as the root. So seventh chords and sixth chords, sometimes the clue is find 2 notes that are next to each other, because those are either going to be the fifth and sixth of a sixth chord, or the root and the seventh, almost an octave away, of a seventh chord. Okay. Brains frying out there? of my students was asking me about blues the other day and said he didn't really quite understand anything about 12-bar blues. And he was on his way out the door. So I said, oh, never mind. We'll talk about that next week. But that made me think, I gotta talk a little bit more. Hopefully everybody out there heard that was just 12-bar blues in A, with a few little doohickeys and other things. Okay, last thing I want to talk about. Sorry to keep getting off on these paths. Not sure what's going to happen next week. It is camp week around here. I'm really excited. Got people showing up. We're having a little Hawaiian feast here at TG Central on Thursday night for any campers that are in town already. And we might be able to squeeze in one or two more people. If you're thinking about it, let me know soon. But we've got about 30 through 33 students signed up, and the teachers are all on board. We've got Doug, Vanessa, Max, Jim Bruno, and of course Dave. Well, and me. I'll be there too, of course. So that is it, I think, for August 10th. I'm not sure if we'll have news next week. We'll probably have a few little live things with some of the folks sticking in who are in the area early. So I hope everybody has a good weekend and gets some playing in and enjoys some of the new tunes we've seen lately. See you later.